Now, just hypothetically speaking, you order 1,000 backpacks, the price is good, the margin is right, and the manufacturer is reliable. On paper, everything looks like a really good business. And then the goods arrive. They look inconspicuous, the logo is correct, the packaging is very good, and even the colors are right. And the first thing you do with a backpack is check the zipper, because that's the critical part. It does work. It doesn't look cheap at first glance, but it is so incredibly fragile and unstable that it will most likely stop working after only 1 or 2 weeks of use. And then you realize you don't have a quality problem. You have 1,000 units with a quality problem. When it comes to importing, very few people fail because of major disasters. They fail because of small details, the things that are initially considered irrelevant. Because when importing, the first mistake is rarely the big problem. The big problem is the chain reaction, everything that comes after. And that's exactly what we're going to discuss here in this video today. Part number 1, a mistake rarely comes alone. A weak zipper can be fixed. If we do the math, the goods are produced. You've paid for everything. It's on its way or maybe even already delivered. You've already planned the launch date. The team is ready. The influencers have been paid and the ads are ready to go. And in the best case, there are even already pre-orders because you've really done a great job. And now suddenly from this small production error with the zipper, a chain reaction arises that is hardly controllable anymore. Delays, reworking, complaints, replacement deliveries, and a big cash flow hole. The project doesn't fail because of this small mistake. The project fails because the mistake was noticed too late. Part 2, why at the beginning everything always seems so smooth and easy. When you've found the product, contacted the manufacturer, gotten a good price, the margin is set, and the delivery time is also acceptable. Exactly then, that's the most dangerous part of the entire sourcing process, the illusion is created. Because this calculation isn't based on realities, it's based on unconfirmed assumptions. Assumptions that the quality is right, that the specifications were correctly understood, that production will go smoothly, that the delivery time will be met, and that the goods will arrive undamaged at your place. So you're not calculating with the real business scenario, you're always calculating with the ideal version. And that works exactly until your version meets reality. Chapter number 3, the manufacturer will do it right. This is probably the most expensive mistake in importing, believing that the manufacturer will take responsibility for the product. Because they don't. The manufacturer produces. That's their job. That's contractually agreed upon. He does not ensure that your product is marketable. He does not check whether your quality expectations match his reality. And of course, he also does not assume any liability for the target market, because whoever imports is responsible for the product, for product safety, for compliance, for labeling, in fact, for everything related to the product after it has been imported here. And for many, that's when the light really goes on. This is the point where many realize that I'm just ordering products from China turns into I'm building a real business with all its advantages and disadvantages. And the disadvantages, which are the unpleasant part of the whole story, are rarely explained to you on YouTube. Well, okay, in this video they are. Normally though, this is something people like to keep hidden. Chapter number 4. Quality is not created in the factory. Many people think of quality as a characteristic of the manufacturer. Good manufacturer, good quality. Simple equation. That sounds nice, but it's not true. Quality doesn't come from the end of a production line, but right at the beginning with the product briefing. To be precise, with the specification, what material, what tolerances are accepted, and how clearly are the requirements formulated. And of course, how do I actually enforce the controls? Because if you tell a manufacturer, please make it high quality, you haven't defined anything. Because high quality is not a production standard, high quality is an adjective. And surprisingly, adjectives are very rarely implemented to the millimeter in factories. Chapter number 5, the most dangerous no problem of your life. Communication is very often underestimated. People just translate a bit with ChatGPT and think the production will go smoothly, but that's super risky. Because imagine you write to your manufacturer, make the material a bit thicker, and the manufacturer replies, no problem. At first that sounds clear, but it isn't. What does a bit thicker even mean? 0.5 millimeters? 2 millimeters? A different material? A different structure? And what does no problem mean? For you, it means clear, understood, and will be implemented exactly as requested. For the other side, it might just mean they've noted it and will interpret it in their own way. The result is never completely wrong, but almost never completely right either. At first, that sounds harmless, but not quite right can cause serious issues during quality control, especially when a customer finally has the product in their hands, and then you'll have a hard time explaining things, making a complaint, or returning the goods, even if you have taken out Alibaba insurance. Chapter 6. Time is more expensive than the mistake itself. Most people simply calculate the purchase price plus shipping plus customs. What hardly anyone factors in properly is the time. When production is delayed, when there are follow-up questions, or when rework is necessary, it not only costs nerves, it also ties up capital. Because imagine, the money has been paid, but the revenue doesn't come in because the goods simply aren't sellable, or they're still in China for rework. Maybe you miss a seasonal window because of this. Maybe the launch gets postponed. Maybe your marketing team is waiting. The influencers get nervous and cancel your contract, or your generously rented warehouse space sits empty. The worst thing that can happen to you is that you might not be able to pay back the loan you took out to purchase the goods. And then it really comes down to the survival of your company. And now you realize that the zipper, the actual problem, isn't even the biggest problem. It's the chain reaction, what comes afterwards. Importing is actually not a complicated concept, but it's a system with extremely low tolerance for error. Anyone who assumes at the beginning that everything will just work out will end up paying dearly for it later. But those who expect problems to arise, and they will, and align their system accordingly, work very profitably, stay grounded in reality, and are 99% better than all the competitors out there. And that's the difference between those who say, I'll just try selling a few things from China, and those who want to build a real business. Don't be afraid of importing. Private label is an extremely profitable, sustainable business that increases company value. But you have to know what you're doing,